Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony Demakis with Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales, where we are mold makers that don't build molds. It's ridiculous, I know, but it's true. And it makes sense. Why? Because it's all the things that mold makers don't want to do. We do the polishing, the laser welding, the engraving, hot runner repair, mold maintenance, mold repair. All of it here in our Wakanda office, all under one roof, which means that you don't have to try and find other people to do all those other things and worry about their timelines or delays. We take care of all of it. We also have a facility in California where we're doing laser welding and laser engraving. And then we have our facility in Prairie Grove, Illinois, which is our laser development center, where we do all of our builds and engineering for all of the laser welding, laser engraving equipment that you may need, all built here in Illinois, U.S.-made products. That's what we are all about. And we also have a facility in Macomb, Illinois. Get ready for this, where we're making signs. That's right. Alliance is now making signs. We can get into that story a little bit too, but we're making signs and we're also doing welding and fabrication in this facility. So now that's 4 locations, one great name. It's awesome. And that's that in a nutshell. So
yeah, I mean, I've been here an hour and I'm surprised that portion didn't come up, but that's exciting.
It's a thing that it was a hidden gem of a project. I'll tell you how we got into that. But before we do that, we've got people watching. Thank you for watching. We appreciate when you watch. Otherwise, it's just me and Jimmy today talking to a camera, and that's weird. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching. This is a live show. So if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, comments, any of those things, go ahead and put that in the chat while you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, whatever you're doing, wherever you're watching. And we will answer those questions and talk with you as that is going on. On top of that, we have some fun stuff coming up. We just got back from NPE 2024 Space Draw, which was a thing. We saw a lot of people there. It's the closest I'm ever going to get to being an NFL draft expert or a general manager. It was pretty cool, but it was also one of the most ridiculous things I've ever done. They did a really good job putting it on. It was good to see my friends at Gardner and MR Mold and, Progressive. I don't see Glenn and Don enough. So that was good. But it was awesome to see how big that show is going to be and what that's that's a monster of a show.
And that show, from what I've heard, it's massive. I mean, that was pre my time.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, with COVID and everything like that, obviously, it's kind of been pushed back a little bit, but yeah, that's what I've heard is people are like, oh, you've been to, PT Expo, IMTS, all these other things. They were like, it's even bigger than that. And I mean, it's something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah. NPE dwarfs all the other shows, which is fine for NPE, right? It's fine. It is what it is. It's not my favorite show for that one reason, that it's too big. My favorite show that we do every year is PT Expo. And PT Expo is coming up at the end of this month. It happens to be over our spring break.
Oh, exciting.
So I may actually have my son come out for a day and see what's going on.
Put him to work.
Yeah, he might get put to work, or he might just walk around with Papu for a bit. We don't know. We'll see what that looks like. But if you are looking for mold makers in the area, if you're looking for suppliers in the area, you're trying to find out what's going on with plastics, PT Expo is amazing because it is what I was saying. It's the opposite of NPE. It's intimate. It's a show where you can actually hear yourself think and build relationships with people as they're walking the show floor. Which is great. Your opinion?
Oh, yeah. No, I would agree. I mean, it's, this will be only my second PT Expo, but in the past, I mean, that's hit the nail right on the head. It's not like there's hundreds of people walking past you at all times, but I think that's almost a positive of when people are walking past, you can stop, you can talk to them, and you feel like you're, making value use of your time.
Yeah.
It's not like people are continuously walking past and you're panicking because you're trying to talk to everybody or it's so overwhelming or anything like that. Like it really is, kind of a mid-sized show, it feels like, but it's almost very intimate because, this industry, everybody knows everybody in some way, shape, or form. So you're able to see friends, suppliers, vendors, whoever it might be, in a very casual setting still, which I think is really important.
Yep. And on top of the casual setting, they still do the things that give it that big trade show feel. So there's in-booth demos, there's tech talk theater. They're going to have it for mold making and plastics technology. There's basically every part of the industry is going to be there. So
Yeah.
it's a good show. I'm looking forward to it. I know our team is looking forward to it. And we got some crazy ideas that I'm going to share with you here. I know.
Hey, that's really just what you guys kind of seem to do at these shows. It's just what can we brew up, what's out of the box thinking. But I mean, everybody that's there, it's kind of like there's more to these shows than just talking business and everything like that. You should have a little bit of fun in the process. So
yeah. So at the show, we'll get to before the show in a second, but at the show, we're doing something a little bit unique. We are going to have live podcast interviews, which is always fun for us. We did that a little bit last year, but this year we're more prepared. We're also thinking about, and Vanessa doesn't even know this yet, we're thinking about bringing Chat and Chow back. So originally this podcast started as Chat and Chow, which means it was at lunchtime.
Yep.
What are we eating? What are we doing? And so one of the difficult things in Rosemont at PT Expo was finding food and bringing food in. So I just had this wild idea today that, like, what if we bought a bunch of pizza around noon and had free pizza at the booth, and people can come watch the Chat and Chow and participate in some stuff. So if that's something that you think would be a good idea, put it in the chat. Give me a thumbs up, or like, you're an idiot. That's fine too. I'll take it. But we're also planning on having some sort of games and contests and competitions, mold builders against mold builders, companies against companies. We can do men versus women. I don't care. Just something to bring some more energy and some fun to the show, because it can be a long day, and I think it's good to be a little bit unique at times.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that's the key is if you can have fun, it's not all business, like we said. It's kind of how can you meet new people, reconnect with old people in a very casual setting. And I mean, something like that's a great way to break up your day. I mean, trade shows are exhausting. You're on your feet all day. You're doing a lot of talking. So, I mean, to kind of break that up and have a little bit of fun, that's awesome.
Yep. And I know Rich Olis is going to be joining us for a live show on one of those days. We haven't ironed out the schedule yet. And we're also going to have all the winners from the SPE Mold Technologies Division award winners. So it'll be Mold Builder of the Year, Mold Designer of the Year, and also Mold Repair Person of the Year. It's the first time for that category ever. So you'll be able to find out who wins at the SPE booth, I believe. And then they're going to come over to the Alliance booth where we're going to do some live interviews and find out what that's all about. So yeah, that'll be super fun. But before the show starts, we are doing something that we call E210. It's the E210 initiative. And it's based on Ephesians 2:10, which basically says that we are God's workmen, created to do the things that he has set before us. And this idea is just based on the fact that when you have trade shows, when you have conferences, when you have all these things, you've got a bunch of people together in a room talking about business, which is great. But what if we could do something more? What if we can actually accomplish something for the community? What if we could be difference makers in a real capacity? And so the Monday before PT Expo, which would be the 27th, we are going to go to Feed My Starving Children in Schaumburg, which is only like 10, 15 minutes away from the Rosemont Convention Center.
It's an easy drive if you're not local. I mean, it's carpool. There's plenty of ways you can get there for sure.
Yeah. And so that'll be from 7 till 8:45 p.m. It's all planned out. So all you got to do is show up. It's free. We don't want your money. We want your time. And the idea is when you're serving together, when you're working towards a common goal, you're really, really building relationships. It's not just having a beer.
Yeah,
it's making an impact and doing something great for other people. And so that's what we're going to do, 7 to 8:45 p.m. If you'd like to register, we're trying to get a head count for all of that. That's important. It's alliancelasersales.com/E210PT Expo. It's a very difficult address to remember, but please sign up. Our goal is 50 people, and we're about halfway there. We can add more. That would be an amazing problem to have if we have to add more people to that. That's 20-some people, 25 people without our team signing up yet, which should be a decent number. So please, if you got nothing to do Monday night, I should say. We are going to go out and have some drinks, and we are going to have some food afterwards. So we're just saying, let's serve together first. Let's do this thing together first, and then let's go celebrate and have some fun.
Exactly. So if you're coming in, Monday, come in a little bit early, volunteer, hang out, get a good night's sleep locally. Don't try to catch an early morning flight on Tuesday. It'll be a lot more fun if you come in on Monday.
Of course. And we're going to be there setting up our booth. Jimmy will be there setting up the Creative Technologies booth. I already talked to Gardner Business Media, and they have a number of people that are going to come out and support this initiative. It's important for everybody. So, if you're sitting there and we're at the trade show with you and you go, hey, I would love to come, but I can't get my booth done in time. Listen, all you got to do is ask. And somebody will help you, because this is more important. Finding a way to get there is more important. If you need a ride, we'll have rides. We'll get you there. It's fine. I can eliminate any excuse you have. Besides, you're not coming in until Tuesday. I'm not paying for your flight. But if you need help, you need a drive, you need a ride, you need something back and forth, we'll have plenty of people that can help you out. So, woo. That's all the stuff we got going on. And Steve Hack from Prodigy, my good friend Steve Hack, is listening to us today. Steve, we are talking like all things marketing and sales and things like that today. So if you have any thoughts, I know you're a brilliant mind there yourself. If you have any thoughts or comments or opinions, please let us know. And we'll go from there. So for those of you that don't know and have not been to trade shows, this is my friend Jimmy. Jimmy is part of Creative Technologies. They are pretty much the go-to when it comes to marketing in the molding space.
Yeah. So all photo, video, website, getting into a lot of social media, just anything that we can do to help your business increase, your digital footprint, your presence online. When people search you, we want to make sure that they can easily find you, whether it's, prospects, customers, suppliers, top talent, whatever it is, as we're moving into 2023, it's extremely crucial that you're be able to be found online easily.
Yeah, and I think you correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I hear and my experience with people is it's an overwhelming, daunting thing to try and figure out how to market your business in a different way.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot. Like I will say that, it is not a simple, you dedicate 15 minutes a week to it and, people are going to be banging down your door. That is not what marketing is by any means. I mean, you have to put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources at it. But it's kind of like once you really get the ball rolling, you start getting into a rhythm, you start really figuring out what you want to do, your branding, everything like that. It's really easy once you get to that point. But obviously, that's the hardest part, is really figuring out where do we start? How do we start? What are kind of the first initial steps? And I think there's just so many options out there that it is very, very overwhelming.
And I think it doesn't have to be, right? When I started over at Alliance, my background is not mold making. Shocker, I know. This is I came into a family business and I brought the experience I had, which was running a marketing company with my wife, graphic design, marketing, sales, that side of things. And I love it. And I'm super passionate about it because I think it's the only way to be able to show the world what your company's all about without meeting every single person in the world, right? And it's a visual representation on who your company is.
Yeah. And I mean, quality marketing, really, when you think about it, it could be one of your best employees for the sake of, your website 24/7. If people search you up, they can find you. If you're on social media, a lot of times, and that's kind of the key, is you want to capture people when they're searching for you. You want to give them what they want. You want to show them what they need to see, for the sake of, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If they need a supplier, if they need a product, whatever, if you're the first person that can solve that problem, they're going to go with you. Right. Where if they can't find you at all online, that's going to be a problem for your workforce. That's going to be a problem for, developing new jobs, finding new clients. So it really is pivotal that you're able to be easily found online. Right. People are lazy nowadays. They don't want to go out of their way. They're not, one of the things people say all the time is the best place to hide a dead body is on the second page of Google. Because it's kind of like within the first 2 or 3 results, if you're not finding what you want, you're changing what you're searching for. You're going somewhere else, where it's kind of like people aren't going to the 6th, 7th page to find your website. They're not digging that deep. It's, hey, I have a problem and I need to solve it right now. And that's why you want to be the person that is right there offering the solution to them.
And there's different ways to do that, right? I mean, Jimmy and I were trying to figure out, like, what are things that might interest people? What are things that people are struggling with when it comes to marketing their brand, and what does that look like? And there's any number of ways to show up on the front page. Part of that is you can pay to do it. You can pay a lot of money to do it.
Yeah.
And you only show up first if nobody else outbids you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's, kind of two groups here in the grand scheme of things. There's obviously the paid way, which is great, but oftentimes a lot of people, maybe they don't want to take that route. So then the secondary way is the more organic search.
Yep.
So essentially, when you start hearing keywords and SEO and a lot of that, that's what you can do to get organic searched. So if you have a bunch of stuff on your website that relates to, laser sales or welding or things like that, if people are searching those, the search engines want to provide the best solution to the user. Otherwise, they're not going to use the search engine. So if they have deemed that, hey, you're the best person for that, they're going to prioritize your site. So it's really key that, you have all of the right material there so that you can rank higher, because organic search, if you do it right, is a lot cheaper in the long run than just continuously paying to be at the top, which isn't a bad thing. But, if you're kind of on that budget, looking at it from a perspective, just do it right the first time, take the organic approach and then just continue to reap the long-term benefits.
So personally, when I do a Google search, because I'm crazy, I skip all the sponsored ones intentionally, because I'm like, no, you didn't put in the work. You just paid some money. I'm not going to click on you. I'm going to go and find out what Google says is more important, because anybody can put that, right? I when we had the marketing company, I would have companies that worked in Wisconsin. They said, we want to show up when people look at Chicago. And it's like, okay, but that's not your address.
Yeah.
So if it's not in your address, we have to hide Chicago somewhere in your page where it actually makes sense in content, because it can't just be garbage copy anymore, because Google got too smart when every porn site in the world was just having this whole smorgasbord of words that nobody was looking up, but it brought them to the porn site.
Yeah. And that's kind of the, you can call it sandbagging, but a lot of people think, oh man, like if I'm a mold manufacturer, if I just put mold manufacturing all over my site, I'm going to rank number one. And that's not the case, because like you said, I mean, so many things in the algorithm and the search engines have changed to prevent that. I've heard stories of people where they would hide plain white text of all keywords, at the bottom of the site or something like that, where like if you highlighted over it, you could see it, but to the eye, you couldn't. And that was one way that, people got around it. But as things evolved, as more websites, the online era began to boom, they started realizing, hey, we need to, kind of set better parameters. You can't just fill 10,000 mold making words into a site and rank number one. They're verifying, they're sending out things that are double checking, hey, this is real copy, this is what things people are wanting to see, not just a bunch of fake fluff.
And how often, so I had this boss at one point. He was an interesting guy. Wasn't in this industry at all. And I walked in his office one time, and he was like clicking and going back, clicking and going back, clicking and going back, clicking and going back, clicking and going back. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm clicking on our competitors. They're using AdWords. And so in his brain, he was just raking them over the coals, and he's like, I'm going to make them spend more money. They want to outbid us. And so he spent like hours a day clicking on their name on Google and going back, just to cost them more money in the cost per clicks.
Yeah, but at what point are you like, my time versus that? Because I mean, some of the cost per click's expensive, some of it's just a few cents depending on what you want to rank for. But in general, I mean, stuff like that, I don't know if it's really worth it nowadays. I mean, I think if people I'm sure there's something out there that verifies, hey, this is a legit one person from the same IP doing it back and forth versus this is 10,000 computers from all over the world kind of a thing. But yeah, that's ridiculous for the sake of, that's probably not the best way to get a leg up.
Sadly, that was probably like 15 years ago. So maybe it wasn't.
Maybe at that time. Yeah.
I thought it was pathetic. To be honest, I was like, we can't find anything better to do right now.
Like use that time to reassess your own strategy and then adapt from there. Yeah.
But for Alliance, we don't do the cost per click. We don't do that, the ad paying. Our goal is organic searches. We want to be updating our website regularly, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to when I say update the website, I don't mean rewrite the whole website every month. I mean add a page, add a
Yeah.
link, add an image,
And
add something in the news section.
yeah, and one of the biggest things, I mean, the news section is great, blogs are great. For the sake of Google will reward you if you're continuously making updates to your website. So a lot of times, somebody might launch a website and spend years without touching it again. Today, what the best thing you can do is, hey, every month, we're going to write a blog, or we're going to add this, or we're going to do something else that is just continuously. And it doesn't need to be, that overhaul, completely redoing everything. That's not what we mean by this. It's just kind of refreshing. Maybe you get a great company photo of the team. Great. Add that to the website, throw it in the gallery. Maybe you get new photography done. Add that as well, and it's kind of like that slow and steady approach often gets rewarded a lot more now than just, hey, we completely overhauled it, but we haven't touched it in 5 years.
Right.
Google is really looking to reward a lot of the companies that are putting the effort in to keep their site relevant, to keep it, very accurate. So they're going to bump you up a lot more than if your website's just sitting stagnant for years.
And really, Google does it not to reward the individual. I don't think they do it to reward the website. I think they do it to reward the person that's on Google, right? Because they want to bring the user the most up-to-date and relevant information possible to the topic that they're looking for. So yes, they're saying, nice job updating your site, but they're also saying, user, here's the most new up-to-date information. What's the point in talking about laser welders if you're talking about old fiber or old YAG technology that it was out 10 years ago? We want to be talking about the newer stuff. The fiber technology, the technology that doesn't go bad, the technology that we use.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that's the key, is just the relevancy, the up-to-date things. I mean, that's, if you think about like the news in general, you don't often see things from 3 weeks ago. You see what just happened today. Search engines operate in the exact same way. They want to show you the most relevant information because, again, if you're not happy with what they're showing you or they're doing a bad job, you're going to switch search engines. You're going to go somewhere else. So from their even just business perspective, they need to get you what you want in the quickest and easiest way possible, or else it's going to end up being bad for them.
True. So one of the things that I think is cool about having you come in here is you have the ability to go to shops all across the U.S., right?
Yep.
You guys are constantly in and out of different mold makers and molders and just working with everybody within this industry space. What are some of the things that you're seeing when you're visiting these shops?
In what regard? I mean, that's a very vague question. So I just want to make sure I answer it correctly.
As far as are people busy right now?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think people are very busy for the resources they are able to put out. I think people could get busier, but a lot of things that we hear are, if we had more workers or if we had, a bigger employee base, we could take on more work. But I think a lot of people are very busy with the resources they're able to allocate towards things. So maybe the shop isn't, bursting at the seams with work per se, but if you're a 15-man shop, all 15 people are working.
Yeah. And so when you're talking to the owners of those companies, are they saying they want more work? Are they looking for more work right now? Or are they, to your point, busting at the seams with what they have and they can't take any more on?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think it depends on, the company and what they're wanting to do.
Sure.
Obviously with different industries, I think a lot of people in automotive might be thinking of the long term. Maybe they're trying to collect work while they can get it. Whereas, medical is always pretty consistent and everything like that. But I think a lot of it is people are almost just trying to find, hey, what is a job that, we can do well, we can make money on, and it isn't going to be a complete headache kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of low hanging fruit per se, where, it might be, a quick paying job, but I think a lot of people right now, they don't have the time or the energy to roll the dice on, hey, is this going to be easy? Is this going to be, over the top complicated? So I think people are really trying to be selective and very smart with their work because nobody wants to take a job on that they're not going to be able to fulfill. I mean,
as far as the kind of projects that they take on.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense because there is that barrier right now of where do we find enough people to work in the industry. Jimmy and I were talking about it a little bit earlier. Like some companies, they're looking for mold makers, right? And then that's a very wide term. What does that all encompass? And you were telling me that some people are taking that a step back, and they're saying, "What if we hire this?"
Yeah, because I think the industry has changed a lot. And I mean, from what we've seen, I think it's very hard. If you were to find anybody on the street and ask them, hey, what's a mold maker? I don't think a lot of people know. And I think that's part of the problem
Yeah,
is people are just very uneducated. Where I think a lot of people, when they think, oh, I'm a machinist, great, I know what that is. I might be operating a CNC or I might be doing something else. So I think a lot of companies are kind of looking at it of, hey, how can we, hire in not the bottom, but how could we find guys that can run a CNC so then we can pull our experienced mold makers off and put them on something else that, they need to do, where it's kind of like the, almost promoting from within of, hey,
sure.
if you've run a CNC for a few years, if you want to work to that point, great. And it's almost like the idea of how can we get people, get them in, get them comfortable, feeling confident, aware of what we do as a company, and then build into them over time. Because I think, if you went and found a lot of high schoolers and said, hey, do you want to be a mold builder? I think a lot of them would say, what the hell is that? Where it's kind of like really educating people, letting them know, hey, this is what it is. But if you start here, if you understand how to CNC and machine, if you're going to be a mold builder in the long term, that'll make you a better mold builder. So it's
Right.
kind of like the idea of
Those stepping stones.
exactly. And I think that's the same thing where it's like if you do CNC and then you do mold build and maybe you dabble in a little bit of repair, but you ultimately want to be a designer, you're going to be a lot better of a designer because you've done all of those things. So I think people are obviously taking any mold builders that they can possibly get, but a lot of it really comes down to, hey, who can we get in general, and then kind of move things around in the way that it makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach for some of those companies that are trying to find those new younger bodies. One of the challenges that we have when we're, and we talked about this a little bit, is when we're doing mold repair, trying to bring in a young kid and as an apprentice when you're looking at mold repair is very difficult, because what you're looking for is somebody that can see and know what they already need to see.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have to be taught what that looks like. Like why is there flash? What's going on in the tool that we need to look at and address and repair? And that's a difficult thing to train. That's something that is years and years and years, 20 plus years of experience to be able to fill that gap. So I think it also depends on what you're doing as a company with what you're looking for.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of it really is, I think people are looking at it of, hey, how can we find one, the right people, but two, the most well-rounded people? I've heard of a lot of companies where they might hire somebody for CNC. So they, build a part of a mold, but then they're also following the mold almost through the process of, great, I'm watching somebody assemble it. I'm understanding how, my parts maybe fit in with other parts. And then, depending on the company, maybe they have an injection machine. So that person is watching it go all the way through, the prototyping, the quality, everything like that. Because I think that's what it really takes to be successful is you need to understand every step of the process. You can't just say, yeah, I know how to machine. If you want to move out of that, you need to really understand, hey, I need to machine it this way so that it fits into this mold and it gives me this tolerance when it's molded. Here's, kind of my wiggle room, whatever. But a lot of that is over time.
Yeah.
It's not something that you put together in the first week. But I think that's kind of the smarter approach is, hey, how can we train the most well-rounded people more or less so that they kind of understand a little bit of everything? They might not be completely proficient in everything, but if they understand the big picture and how everything fits together, great. They're
Right.
going to be that much better and stronger for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Again, you get to see a lot of different people, a lot of different companies, a lot of different attitudes when it comes to marketing or showcasing what they
Yeah.
do. What do you find is the struggle that most people are having when it comes to marketing? Is it the fear of marketing? Is it the unknown? Is it not knowing where to start? What is that? What have you?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it might just be not really knowing 100% where to start. And I think a lot of things have changed since a lot of people have, really poured into marketing. So the best place to start, I would say, is a website. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, well, we have a website. But a lot of times, a website,
Do you really?
like, you have a domain and you have stuff there, but a lot of times your website can almost work against you.
Yes.
If you have an older website, if you have a website that's outdated, maybe it's not really relevant anymore, that's going to affect the people who are searching you from either a prospect, customer, supplier, new top talent, whatever it is. So I think the relevancy is a super key part of, if I'm searching your website and I'm looking at an equipment list that maybe is 10 years old, that's not doing you any favors. You need to have the most up to date and relevant info because, like we talked about, when people are looking at your website, they're looking at it for a reason. They're not just looking at it because they're bored. They're looking at it because they need a partner. They're looking for somebody to offer them a solution. So you need to really put your best foot forward and make the best first impression because if not, they're just going to back right out, go down onto the Google list, and just kind of cycle through these sites until they find what they want. So I think that's the key. And I mean, again, not like you need to be overhauling your site year after year, but every year, hey, how do we update our photography? How do we update our equipment list? How do we keep it, it doesn't need to be relevant to the day, but at least the year for the sake of just, we need to be very, very accurate in what we're offering. Because I've had a lot of people where their website, it doesn't show that they have a 5-axis, but they do. That's not doing you any favors. If you have that capital investment, show it off for the sake of that's only going to pay you back in dividends for the sake of if somebody's looking for it and they see it, they're going to look around on your website a little bit more, see if you're a good fit, on whatever other reasons, but they've seen what they need, they'll contact you, and then they'll go from there. Whereas if they're looking at a site with equipment from 10 years ago, they're not going to be impressed. They're going to be kind of disappointed, really. So I think that's one of the biggest things is a lot of people say they have a website, but having a website that is very up to date and accurate, that's not always the case. And a lot of times you're just kind of driving people away. If people aren't impressed with what they're seeing, they're just on to the next one, kind of a thing.
I'm laughing to myself because I have this campaign that I think that you and Todd could do, where it's like it's a spin of Jeff Foxworthy's You Might Be a Redneck, but you might need a new website, right? If you're using BrushScript, you might need a new website. If you have a site counter on the bottom of your site, you might need a new website.
Yeah.
If you have animated bricks as a background, you might need a new website.
Yeah. But I think a lot of it really comes down to, I think so many people, and the way you break down, at least for us, like from a cost perspective, we could do it as a lump sum and you could wait 5 years and do nothing, or we could build it out year after year and it'll probably be the same. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you just have us continuously come in, in short little snippets, make updates, do whatever, where the SEO is rewarding you, you're staying more relevant, you're doing all these things instead of just, hey, we built it all out, we're going to set it and forget it. I mean, Robbie Earnhardt's a great example. Todd tells a lot of our customers when he started, that was a very, very cheap site. And Todd told him, hey, year after year, we're going to keep chipping away at it. We're going to build it into what it is. And I mean, you look and it's like, he's not spent, more than $5,000 or $6,000 a year. I mean, some of them might spike, but some of them might be down. But in general, it's like, if you're spending that per year, in the grand scheme of things, you're just staying on top. You're staying very relevant. We're continuously updating things. And that's really the key nowadays because things are changing so fast that you're only falling farther and farther behind if you're not really taking advantage of it. I mean, if you think about a website, it's a 24/7 employee. I mean, it doesn't call in sick. Maybe it's down, but realistically, most websites are up about 99.9% of the time. People can view them from all over the world, any time of day. You fill it with the best of the best. It's a great sales tool, but a lot of people just aren't thinking about it like that.
And it's easy to neglect and think, we've got one. It's not that old. But, for me, it's like I keep thinking that it's not as old as it is, but it's old. And for years, we've been saying we need to update our website and make it better. And, the whole 2 years of COVID is just a blur. Like it didn't even happen. It didn't exist. It's just over before you know it. But there's so many things that change and the technology changes. And I think, you would be one of those people to say, I'm not telling you that creative technology has to do every part of your website for you. But once it's up, you are in charge of writing a new blog. And it's very easy. You don't have to send it to Jimmy. It's done in such a way where you log in, You put a picture that you can take with your phone, even because the phones are so good. And to a lot of people, this sounds like, of course, Tony, why are you telling me this?
No, but it's important
Because it's
Yeah.
conversations that we've had
Yeah.
with other people that say, like, I can't do marketing. I don't have the right equipment. I don't have this. I don't have that. Listen, if you got a phone, you can put up a video. You can put up new photos of your people or of work or whatever. People's voices matter. Alex Hoffer does a really good blog from Hoffer Plastics, and it's just a different spin on things. And his blog is not part of Hoffer Plastics per se, but everybody knows who Alex is, and so it brings attention to his company.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot that can be done for the sake of, I tell people a lot, you're in your business every day. I'm not, for the sake of, it best. You know what's going on. Everything that's going on under your umbrella. So for you to write a blog, for you to put something together, we're more than happy to help. But a lot of times it's like, you're very capable to do it. We're very, very, eager to help you in any way that we can if you do something, for the sake of, a lot of times, if you know what's going on, if you just finished up a project, if you just put something great out, write something up super quick, take care of it, post it online. Like, it's not a, hey, I need a marketing company for everything per se. Actually, how we look at it is, how can we partner with people? I just had a customer out in Ohio the other day. We didn't have a picture of the exterior of his building. He just ran out with his cell phone, took a picture. It's not like I had to bill him for a 12-hour round trip drive for me to do the same thing with a little bit better of a camera. I've said it, I think the last time I was on here, if you have a camera on your phone and you have internet, you can market.
Yes.
It might not be the top tier, over the moon kind of a thing, but for the sake of just, hey, we're getting content out there, we're staying top of mind, we're getting the job done. That's the most important thing.
Yep. And I would piggyback off of that on the staying relevant. When you're talking about marketing, when you're talking about branding, your website is good. You want to drive people to your website.
Yeah.
But there's also easy, free platforms, and some people don't understand them all. They don't understand the purpose of them. Like, why would you use Instagram to market a mold making business? Well, it may not make total sense. Right?
Yeah.
But here's why I think it makes sense, because a lot of times the owners of mold making companies or molding companies or the people working in them, when they're at home, they're not, sorry, Christina, they're not scrolling through mold making technology at home. They're probably not. They're doing that at work, and then they want to focus on what they want to focus on, right? And part of that is social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn. And me, I don't do LinkedIn as much at home because I'm at home. I'll do it a little bit, but the other stuff I'm scrolling through YouTube. Those videos, I can't understand how some of these videos have so many views. I'm doing something really, 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 really wrong. But I think all of those platforms serve a different purpose. And if somebody's scrolling through on Instagram at home and they come across a mold or a new process or a video where you're telling somebody how they did something, it's going to spark some interest, and they're going to stop and take a look at it.
Yeah.
And it can't be pushed away as that's just a silly thing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it really comes down to, another good starting point, like in regard to social media, is, where is your audience?
Yeah.
That I think so many people miss the mark on, and it's no fault to them, but really sitting down and assessing, okay, where are the people that we want to target? Let's only worry about those platforms. It is so much better to be like, hey, we're only on 2 platforms, but we're knocking it out of the park, as opposed to, hey, we're on 7, but we're half-assing all of them. We're not really sure who we're targeting per se. So I think, like, that's a really key element of it. And I mean, a lot of it, you think, hey, what is our business doing? A lot of this industry, it's business to business. LinkedIn's a great platform. Facebook might be good to have. Instagram, depending on how often you want to use it, it's a content machine, and you got to keep feeding it. So you got to consider all of these things of, hey, maybe I can get by with posting once or twice on LinkedIn a week, but Instagram, I mean, that's a constant battle. So, I mean, really assessing, hey, where is our audience? Because that's the most important thing. I think a lot of people just assume, hey, we need to be on Twitter. Probably not for this industry.
Probably
Twitter's very casual. Twitter's very
conversational.
exactly where it's not that business to business. It's not the focus. People are on there.
To
Twitter.
pick a fight. People are on Twitter to pick a fight. Let's be honest.
Twitter would be like the late night at home casually scroll.
Yeah.
Where it's not like, LinkedIn during my business day, I'm on LinkedIn. Where you think, hey, if it's business to business, I might be seeing the stuff your business posts at that time, but I'm not going on Twitter, where it's kind of like you need to really leverage, hey, how can we do a few things right and just absolutely knock them out of the park instead of just saying, well, yeah, we're on every platform imaginable, but are we performing well? Are we tracking? Do we know what's working and what's not? Like, it's kind of just start with the bare bones. If it grows from there, great. If not, just leave it how it is. Like,
and I think the other benefit of we'll say I'll stick with Facebook and Instagram is to not get more work, but increase your viewage. I guess your family sees that, right? Your family's friends see that. Kids at church see that, families at church, or whatever that looks like, people at school, so that they recognize who your business is. Then if they know somebody, they know, Phil needs a job and he doesn't know what to do with his life. Oh, Alliance looks like a pretty okay place to work. They do a lot of stuff with their employees. It seems like a good culture. Maybe that's something we should look into. And they can reach out and say, are you guys hiring? It allows you to show who you are as a company in real time.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the key things too that a lot of people might not put together is social media essentially is just a stepping stone towards your website. So that's why it really needs to kind of be that perfected, polished 1-2 combo in the way of, nobody's going to see a LinkedIn post you made, maybe, but probably not, and call you up and say, hey, I want to buy a $400,000 mold from you. But they start seeing 3-4 LinkedIn posts. Your LinkedIn is linked to your website. They check out your website a few times. They bump into you at a trade show. Great. You've had a conversation. They're aware of who you are. They're aware of what you do. Without any of that, that wouldn't happen. You'd kind of be a complete stranger to them, where it's really just kind of using that as, hey, how can we show what we're doing in a very casual way, drive people to our website, make them aware of what they're doing? I mean, not everybody that's on your website is buying from you, but everybody who's on your website, if it's up to date and done correctly, is hopefully leaving with something.
Right.
You're planting the seed. A lot of times in business, when people say no, it's not really no, it's just not right now.
Yes.
So it's kind of just, hey, if people are aware of who we are, we might not need Alliance equipment right now, but in 6 months, if I've been seeing that constant stream of stuff, I'm going to know who to call. Where I think that's the important is, how is it consistent? Is it polished? Are we driving people to the right place? And then from there, it's just kind of a waiting game of like, hey, when that need arises, I want to be the first person that you think of. So you give me a call and we do business.
And that's where the sales team comes in to piggyback off the marketing, right? It's got to be a well-rounded working machine, right? I think so many times people look at it for like the ROI side. What's the ROI on doing this? And we always look at it and say, what's the ROI on not doing it, especially organically? Pre-COVID, again, sorry, MMT and Gardner, you're not gonna like me, but I'm just telling it how it is for us. Pre-COVID, we were advertising a lot in the magazines, and we were doing a lot of different things. And then when we were unsure about what the marketplace was going to be, what we were going to have as far as income, we scaled back our marketing budget, which I think a lot of people did. Which just meant that we took everything that we were doing and we pushed it into the free platforms, whether that was LinkedIn, whether that was doing this podcast and talking to people directly, whether that was YouTube and just doing more videos. And we saw a steady increase in our sales because we were getting out there more often, right?
Yeah.
And people were actually seeing who we are instead of a magazine ad. And I think magazine ads can still be amazing if they're done right, and they work in conjunction with your website, and they work in conjunction with your sales team. And from where I come from, your sales team is just living, breathing marketing. So everything that they're doing, from their appearance, the shirt that they're wearing, the way they walk in, are they bringing donuts? What is it that your sales team is saying about you and your brand that makes an impact and makes a difference and correlates back to your overall brand and your message?
Yeah. And I think that's, there's and this, I think this is why marketing can get overwhelming for people, because I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to juggle and have up in the air. But I think a lot of it, it really comes down to the reason the website is kind of that cornerstone pivotal piece is you could do everything else really well. I mean, you could meet somebody at a trade show, absolutely wow them. You know, you tell them you're going to send them a PO in a week and everything like that. But then if they go on your website and they're not impressed with what they see, or, you know, they're kind of thinking, man, maybe they were really overplaying what they're offering, or they're doing things like that. That's not what you want. You know, obviously throughout all of this, you don't want any part of this process to work against you. And a lot of times that's what might be happening. You know, people are spending a lot of money to attend these trade shows. And I mean, it's great. You walk the floor, you meet a lot of people, you know, it's great networking from that perspective, but then they won't spend on their website. And I'm like, if you hand me a brochure that has your website on it, if I want to go do more research and I'm not impressed, there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people kind of miss that. So it's like you spend a lot of your marketing budget on a trade show, but when people ultimately get home, you know, back to the office, whatever it is, they start doing some research, you know, adding connections, whatever they're doing. If they're not impressed, they're just not going to follow up with you. I mean, you might follow up with them, but you might not hear back. So there's definitely a disconnect of, you know, you can really knock it out of the park face to face. You can do all these other things, but if you're not wowing them in things that they need to be wowed in, you know, you're going to kind of lose them indirectly like that.
So you guys got 2.5 weeks between now and PT Expo to revamp your whole website. That's what we're talking about. So if you're one of those people that needs to do those updates, now, I mean, really do it. I mean, Jimmy was talking about how there's a app called Wix, right? It's a software called Wix. It's not that complicated for people to put together.
Yeah.
Squarespace is a really easy thing for people to put together. Depends on what your level of comfortability is and how unique and extravagant you want it to be. What I would say is before you do that, this is Tony's words of wisdom. Before you start going down the rabbit hole of designing your website and developing your website, or maybe Jimmy and Creative Technologies can help you with this side of it, understand who you are as a business.
Yes.
Because listen, there are a lot of companies that can do polishing. We know this. There's a lot of companies that repair molds. We know this. So what is it that makes your business unique? Who are you at your core? What are your core values? What is your mission in the industry? Those are the things that are going to get people's attention and sell what it is. This podcast only happens because it fits within our core values, right? Our core values of gratitude, relationships, integrity, and tenacity. A podcast kind of makes sense for us, right? We're grateful to be able to speak. We're grateful to have friends and industry guests that can come on and tell stories. We want to build relationships with people. We want to tell our stories. We want to talk about the things that matter, that the integrity side of it. And the tenacity for this is like, please, people start watching and listening and subscribing. Like, we're going to keep fighting and showing up until we get the kind of response that we want to. But it allows us a platform to do all the other things that fit our core values and make a difference. And then people trust us to be able to do work with us. I'm not saying every company should do a podcast, but before you do a flyer, understand what's the purpose. Why am I putting this flyer together? What is this supposed to be? Who are we as a company? What do we want to tell? What's the story? Do we focus on serving our customers? Do we focus on cheap molds? Do we focus on US made molds?
Yeah.
What is our niche in the industry, and how do we blow that up in a way that actually matters to people? And that's the differentiator, because we make molds. We got like 15 employees. We make really good molds.
Yeah.
Great. Everybody does.
Yeah.
That's not different.
And that's what I was going to say. I mean, really, before you do anything, give me a call for the sake of, like, I would love to help you just brand in the sake of, you need to have direction. You know, if you need to have a plan, really, because if, you know, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But so much of the time, people, you know, maybe they're posting one thing on LinkedIn, they're posting something else on Facebook, their website tells a completely different message than their print material. And a lot of times, you know, you need to have a good thought through plan. Otherwise, it's just going to be all over the place. And I mean, so much of the time, that's what it comes down to, is people, they maybe get a little bit too eager, which isn't a problem, but a lot of times you just start sending mixed messages, or all of a sudden it's, well, yeah, we're the best. So is everybody else in their opinion, where it's kind of like figuring out, hey, we're the best mold builder because we offer top tier quality, customer service. We use the best materials. We have the best lead time. What is something that when people think of you, all of a sudden it's like, oh, great. Like, I mean, with Alliance, it's like, I mean, you guys have a great team, where it's like, if people think like, man, they've got great culture, when I call, same person picks up the phone, whatever it is. But a lot of it comes down to, if you're all over the place, people are going to be just as confused if they're seeing one thing on LinkedIn. They go to your super pristine, polished website and they're getting something else. I mean, that's not what you want. Sitting down, really figuring out, hey, what's our mission? What's our vision statement? What is our long-term goals? What's our 5-year plan? Really having those conversations and just putting it into play. That's going to save you so much in the long term, because a lot of times people, they're eager and they get started, but it's all over the place, where it's kind of like, hey, take a few hours here or there, really think through, talk to your team, figure out, hey, what do we stand for? What makes us different? What's something that is our core value that we're, really willing to stick to? And then from there, just start running with it. Because after you have that foundation, things are going to be a lot easier. But if you're just throwing out, yeah, we make the best molds, you're in the majority. Everybody else is saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Figure out how you're different, why you're different, what makes you unique. Because some people look for that. A lot of times people will say, hey, I don't care if you're X amount more per build. You build to quality. If you market that, if somebody's looking for it, great. This person builds quality molds. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for headaches. If you can build them the fastest, great. If somebody's in a pinch, they're going to look to you. Like, where it's kind of like you need to just differentiate yourself in some way, because just saying, yeah, we have a good team, that's not really going to get that far.
Awesome.
People,
like that's
yeah,
a big deal.
yeah.
The other thing I would say is be truthful about it, be authentic about where you are and who you are. If you know that you don't care about relationships, you just want to get jobs in and move through them, don't say you're a relationship person, because it'll show in the way that you do your work. The authenticity of a business matters, right? When people see you at the trade show, or the way that you interact with other people, or who you are as a company, be real with who you are. Don't market your business on who you hope you are, or who you would like to be, or who your competitors are. You got to focus internally on who are we really, and what do we bring to the marketplace that's different than anybody else, truthfully. And stick to your authentic reality of who you are as a brand. And I would say that also goes for your personal brand, not just your business brand. So everybody that listens to this has a personal brand.
Yep.
And that personal brand can be executed on LinkedIn or any of the platforms individually. You don't need business permission, right? So if you're listening to this and you go, I wish our company would do more marketing, stop wishing and get on LinkedIn and promote what you do in your business and what part of it you have to offer. They can't stop you from doing that unless you're like, Eli Lilly or something, and you own everybody's corporate identity and everything. That's a whole different animal. But most of the people that I think might listen to this, get out there and share your story with what's going on. Why? It's going to make you more valuable. It's going to bring attention to the industry. It's going to bring in better relationships for you. It's going to help you grow as an individual. It's going to help you learn how to do all these things. And it might open the door to a new opportunity that you didn't even know of. So if you're working for a company that they don't want to do marketing or help you grow or anything else, you can sit there and not do anything about it. Or you can put yourself out there and maybe you find a different company. I mean, that's just a reality.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the beauty of, something that we haven't really touched on so far, is that, like, the personal brand. I mean, literally it's personal. Like, how can you put your spin on it? How can you, post, hey, we're at, a company dinner or this or that, or, I got to tour this facility, or, whatever it might be. I think a lot of times people think, oh man, like if we're thinking about business marketing, we just need to market from a business account. No, it's not the case. Like, interact, repost, post your own stuff, like, for the sake of, if you're really trying to build a name for yourself, build into your personal brand. I mean, there's so much value in it. If people can see, hey, they go above and beyond, they really deliver for the customer, and they work for a company that very openly says, hey, we'll do whatever it takes. There's some similarities there, and it's kind of like both of those are going to work in parallel and benefit the company. I mean, I think maybe years ago it was something that companies were afraid of because they were going to lose people.
Yep.
But a lot of times it's like, if you're doing good for the company, you're not going to leave. If they're letting you excel and run with it, you're going to stay. You're going to keep doing what you love. You're going to keep promoting the company. So it kind of works. If they give you the freedom to do it, you're going to be happy and you're not going to want to leave. So it's
Right.
like more companies are taking the step towards, hey, yeah, you can have a personal brand because it relates to our companies. If you're a sales guy, you're posting all the time, people know who you are, they're going to call you. You're going to get more sales, you're going to get more traffic, more leads, whatever it might be. So by doing that, it benefits the company in the long term either way. So if you are the one that needs to take that step up or that, big step forward, have at it. I mean, that's going to just end up being so beneficial.
Now, what I will say is you also have to be careful with your personal brand. So, I mean, you can very easily have positive things that you post, but it could go negative real quick, and especially in today's cancel woke culture
Yep.
of things. If you're not careful with that personal brand, it could be a significant hurt on your business as well, right? So
Yeah.
if you're doing ridiculous things at work or whatever, people are going to find out. They're going to see that nothing is hidden anymore. People know what's going on
Yeah.
in the world.
And I think like that's kind of the fine line of like, what are you doing? What is it professional? Like, it's one of those, it's such a stupid idea, but like, would your grandma be proud if she saw it, kind of a thing?
Depends
Like,
on who your grandma is.
taking the approach of like, hey, if I'm running a personal brand that is somewhat in parallel with the business, I need to operate in the same way. I can't be posting things that are crazy out there ideas or things that are, obviously going to be a bad representation. But I think a lot of it is just, kind of think through, hey, is this a good idea? Is this going to be any negative backlash towards me, towards the company?
Right.
If not, great, have at it. But, I would say if you're ever hesitant, just don't post it. I mean, there's so much other things out there that you can post that, like, I would hope that you're not in the point of like, well, I need to post this, might lose my job, but I got to get something out. Like, don't be at that point. But I think a lot of it really comes down to just, what is going to benefit everybody, and just kind of have an idea in your head of like, all right, this is going to be a positive, not a negative. You're good.
And I think, even if it is your personal brand and you're saying, I honestly don't care if this influences my company's reputation positively or negatively. What I would encourage you to do is think of yourself 5 years from now. And is this going to be something that you want your kids to be able to find, even if you don't have kids, at some point? If you don't care, I mean, good on you. But I think you need to be careful. And this is not a lesson on what to post and what not to post, but it's just one of those things that, like, listen, I just want to be me. Let me be me. I don't care what happens with my business account or our company's account or whatever. I'm just an employee. Doesn't matter. Great, but everything you post will be seen at some point by people that you may not want to see it. Um, Future employers will search your social media sites to see who you are, and what you do in your spare time and your free time and the things
Yeah.
you say and the opinions that you have. And all of it has an impact on your life for the better or for the worse. And so I'm not saying fake who you are. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be prepared. If you're going to put your authentic person out there, be prepared, because every action has consequences, and
Yeah.
just be ready for whatever that looks like. And then you do you, boo. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I put myself out there. I am who I am. And some people like it, some people don't, and that's okay. I'm good with that. If people choose not to want to work with me because of the beliefs I have or the opinions that I have, that's something that I have come to grips with a long time ago. I am the person I am, through and through, and I want people to know that. So when I meet somebody at a trade show, it's like we've already had our first 3 dates.
Yeah.
They know who I am.
Yeah.
They know what they're going to get out of this.
Yeah.
And if they see me and they know they don't like that already, they don't have to come talk to me, and that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. but I like the idea that they already know what they're going to get.
And I think that like that's the beauty of both like the personal and the business brands is people feel like they might know you. I mean, there's
Yeah.
people on LinkedIn that I have never met them. I've never talked to them. And I'm like, oh man, awesome. You know, so-and-so's traveling here to go do this shoot, or they're doing this, or they just wrapped this job up. And I'm like, I've never met this person. And I feel like I know them. And it's almost like this weird thing of like, when I do meet them, I'm like, we've never met, but like, I feel like, and it's usually like a funny banter, but like, that's good because then when you're approaching, it's not, you know, nobody likes that awkward, hey, what company you with, you know, like all of that. It's like, hey man, what's up, good to finally meet you. Like, you know, we've been commenting back and forth on LinkedIn for a few months or whatever it is, but like from a sales perspective, that's huge,
Right.
that, you know, you're taking a stone cold lead and almost just indirectly warming it up just by posting online, where it's like you do meet somebody and it's like, oh man, like that's awesome. Like even like people that you've met that like, did you know that I know Larry from JH Bots?
No.
Because I brought him up to you because I was doing work for them, and he was like, oh man, like I know Tony, that guy's everywhere. And it was right after we got back from MD&M. And I was like, oh yeah, I just saw him last week. Actually, we were golfing in California, and he's like, what was he doing in California? But like, it's funny that you might have only met him a few times, but because he sees you're all over the place, he's just like, oh yeah, Tony must be just this crazy, over the top, busy guy. But that's true, where it's not like you're, you know, disproportionate. Yeah, exactly. But like, that's the thing. It's like, because he's already seen that, you meet him once or twice, he feels like he knows you.
Right.
Like he wasn't like, Tony, who? Like he was like, oh, Tony, yeah, Alliance. Like where it was just like, you know, you've already made that connection indirectly, which is why it's such a powerful tool nowadays.
Right. That's like, oh, we got to finish this soon. But like, that's one of my fears sometimes. And not that I crave attention. I really don't. I mean, if you know me, I don't love attention. I love attention for the brand.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to meet somebody and then have you talk to them and go, you know, Tony, and they're like, Tony, who? Tony. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, my hope and your hope when you're doing marketing is to leave an impact, to leave an impression on people so that they do remember you, hopefully for something good. But you know, impact matters one way or another. You know, I think it was, you know, probably 2 Live Crew, like no attention or no what they talk about. It was when they were getting in trouble for, you know, it's 2 Live Crew. So all their stuff, and they're like, no attention is bad attention, right? We're going to take it. No. So it's good. Yeah.
No, but I mean, that's, I think the biggest thing is like, you know, with all the branding and everything like that, just being memorable. I mean, for the sake of, we live in such a saturated world. I mean, I don't even know what the stats are anymore, because I feel like they just keep going up. But like the fact of how many advertisements you see a day, how many, you know, social media posts, how much this, that, you know, there's comments. Like even while we were sitting here, like I feel my phone buzzing because I'm getting emails and people are sending me, like, it's just like, you're so overwhelming that it's like, to really make a difference, you need to stand out. Otherwise, it's just another scroll. You know, people might skip over your ad, or they might, you know, not see what you posted or anything like that. Where it's like, if you're posting stuff that stands out, it's memorable, you know, you're going to do very well. You know, just doing what the competition does is not a good marketing plan. I tell people that all the time. Like, you shouldn't look at it as like, oh, I'll do what everyone else does. No, do what makes you. Right. You'll stand out. You'll be different. People will remember that. If you're posting the same stuff because somebody else is, that's not the best way to do it. So, I mean, that's probably a good closing thing. I feel like we've thrown a lot at everybody.
We have.
But, I mean, in general, I think that's the biggest priority is just, hey, be very smart, be very efficient, plan things out, and then execute. Don't just start, you know, having so many things up in the air that you lose control of it. Because, I mean, again, marketing will work for you or will quickly work against you.
One of my favorite things, and then we'll get out of here. We use a software called Lead Forensics. I don't know if you're familiar with Lead Forensics. So Lead Forensics goes on your website, and it tells you who comes to your site. It doesn't tell you people, but it'll give you the business and some contact information, tell you what pages they went to. It's a great service. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, but my favorite thing is when I see our competitors checking out our website and all the different pages. And sometimes people come in, they're like, you know, so-and-so's on our website again. I'm like, good. That's good. That means we got them. That means they know what we're doing.
Mockery is the biggest form of flattery.
Yeah, I mean, come on, check it out. Come see what we're doing. We
Yeah.
are an open door company. So even here, right? I was telling Jimmy when we were walking around, I know so many companies, and I've been to companies that say we don't let people come in. We gotta, we have so much stuff here, we can't let anybody see it. What if our competitors see it? What if somebody finds out? What if there's a spy? Listen, stop worrying about it. It doesn't matter. If you're doing your job, your customer is not going to leave you because somebody else is doing the same thing. That's not a customer, and it's not a customer you want, in my opinion. So for Alliance, we have an open door policy. You want to come in, you want to see a tour, you want to see a laser welder, you want to see an engraver, you want to see what we do here, come on by. When we have the golf outing every year, the golf outing is before the golf outing, we have an open house. We don't care who shows up. Alpha, you want to come out and see our machines? Come on out. It doesn't matter. Ultra, you want to come out and see our polishing shop? It doesn't matter. It's fine. Come on out. I don't care. We're open to everybody because we're going to learn and grow together. And, even if it's a competitor, right? There's things we do that you don't do. There's things that you do that we don't do. So how do we build relationships and work together so that we all grow and we all do what matters and keep our customers happy and keep the work here and grow the industry inside and out?
Yeah, because I think that's, again, something good to close on. But something, it's like the Midwestern goodbye. But I think a lot of it really is like, this industry is enough work to go around. And I think nowadays people are actually turning away work. So, I think what you said is great. Like, how do we collaborate? How do we get, the next generation excited about manufacturing careers? How do we, really make sure that American manufacturing is as strong as it can possibly be so that everybody succeeds? Because I've always said from the beginning, I'm like, if you're one shop and you're closed door, if everybody else went out of business, so would you. There's too much work. Like, you would not be good. Where it's kind of like, everybody, can stay in their lane. Everybody can service who they service. But how can we operate as efficiently as possible as a whole so that there's more opportunities for the work to come back, a lot of that. So I think that's, huge. And obviously it's good if people can walk around, see the facility, hey, how can we learn? That's why plant tours are so nice.
They're great
because it's like, oh, you do this, we don't, maybe we implement it, just really using each other as resources. And I think that seems like something that, was not the case a while ago. That seems like a very new thing of, hey, we need to collaborate and work as one, because if everybody starts going out of business, that's not good for anybody.
Not good for anybody at all. So on the note of it's not good for anybody, we're going to pray because that's good for everybody. And then we're going to get out of here. So because it's been a nice long show. I love this guy. We can talk forever. Like we could do a whole show
like a
on
mini
marketing.
series.
It's
like
just ridiculous. And if you found value in it, let us know. Right? Send us a message. And tell us what are those things that you're going to do for the next time Jimmy's on.
Yeah, shoot me a LinkedIn connection request. Send me a message. I'd love to talk. Ideally, you kind of pay me for it, but I will talk your ear off either way. I just love talking about marketing, making sure that everybody succeeds, because that's kind of the direction we need to be headed. So,
yeah. All right. So I'm going to pray real quick and then we'll get out of here. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for my friend Jimmy. Thank you for this technology that you've given us. Thank you for the opportunity to talk and hopefully give people some encouragement and some laughter and some joy, and just help them get to that next level with their business and what they're trying to do. We just pray that you would continue to watch over us, that you would continue to make this industry strong, that you would continue to help us to grow people and make their lives better in our businesses and in our relationships, and that through all of it, you would be given all the glory. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody, thank you for watching our show. Real quick, I got it, Vanessa. E210 is, because you don't know what I'm doing, E210 is Monday the 27th. Please go and register for that. I promise you will not be disappointed. We've got people from Prodigy coming out. We've got people from Gardner coming out. Rich Olis is going to be there participating. James Jurgens from Plastech is going to be coming out and joining us. Jimmy may be there. We'll find out.
I've done it before. It's a blast. I'm not just saying that to say it. Like, I've done it multiple times. It's always so much fun. And when you're with good company, it's even better. So
yeah. So our goal right now is 50 people. I can increase it to whatever we need to. And it would be a horrible thing if we blow this thing out and Gardner Business Media and Christina and Mold Making Technology get to write an article about how mold makers and the plastic industry was able to serve in this capacity where they sent all these meals to African nations and countries. How bad would that be? So I encourage you all to come out to E210. I encourage you all to come out to PT Expo. It's the 28th through the 30th. It's 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday is a lighter day that ends at 3 o'clock. I'll be honest, most of the activity is Tuesday and Wednesday. That's just reality. But if you really want some one-on-one conversations, Thursday is your day.
You could make a killing. You could talk to anybody on Thursday.
Yes. But that's it. That's a wrap. I got no more to say. My throat hurts, and I'm ready for some water.
Yep, me too.
Jimmy, thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me
Thank you for
on.
making the trip over to Alliance. I hope you enjoyed the visit. Everybody at home or at work or listening today, tomorrow, next year, whatever it is, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care, and God bless.